in the next bracket now of surveys and stuff online.
Ooh, the 25 to 30. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your frontal lobe is also fully developed.
I know.
So do you feel wiser?
Not particularly.
Did you notice a change?
I just feel more tired.
Well,
whatever that means.
Me too, hey? Because now that your brain's fully developed, you're using more energy to use your full brain, maybe? I don't know.
You think that would be the reverse, though? Because if it's developing would be...
Once I said that, I realized I was dead fucking wrong. Welcome back
to another episode of Sometimes Ciabatta Slaps. I'm Mac.
I'm Jubes.
And today's episode, we are talking about diets.
Yeah.
This was a requested episode. But first, we're going to do a little catch up because we have a lot to catch up on.
I know, it's been a long time since we've, recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess we'll talk more. We mentioned about Canada Day weekend. It went so good.
It was such a blast.
Absolutely killed it.
Mm-hmm. I planned a bunch of games and stuff, and it was just went so good. Mm-hmm. It was so much fun.
Mm-hmm. I won.
Yeah, Michaela won. So look at you go, your team.
And my partner.
Yes, which is so exciting. I don't remember what I got, but it was definitely not top 3, so it doesn't matter. Bryce came out and said, "Did you lose?" And I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "How do you not know?" I was like, "I didn't care as long as it wasn't first, second, or third, because those are the people that got prizes."
Oh, so you wanted to be the first, second, or third, or you just didn't care because you weren't?
I don't care where I'm at because I messed up the bracket a little bit a few times.
Messed the bracket?
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh, well, because we had an odd number of teams.
Yeah.
So then I couldn't figure it out. It just was not working.
I have a confession.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a messed up numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have an egg to do for the egg thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so we just walked back slowly.
There was 12 eggs, was there not?
There was no eggs by the time we went to do the egg thing. So we had a spoon, we had no egg, so we just walked back slowly and then did the trivia question and kept going.
What the heck?
Yeah, I don't know where the egg went.
There was 12 eggs.
So it must have been 13 teams then.
There was 11 teams.
I don't know what happened to the egg.
That's so weird.
But that's what I thought too when I went to go up there. So I was like, I thought we had enough eggs. But
yeah. Oh, you know what? There was only 10 eggs because I just cut the thing in half. It wasn't a full dozen. Oh. Oh, yeah. Well.
So when we got up to do the egg thing, we're just like, there's no eggs. And I'm like, let's just walk back slowly then.
Yeah. Ha ha ha. Oopsies. Well, you're welcome.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, how do I make this fair? I'm like, I'm not gonna go and run in and grab an egg. Yeah. I'm just gonna walk back slowly at the pace as if I would be walking with an egg in my mouth.
No one noticed.
No one did.
So
yeah.
And then once you're at the end, you still had to answer a trivia question, anyways.
Yeah.
So
and all that determined was who we were playing.
Yeah, it wasn't for. Yeah, that was so funny when B's dad was like, "So when do we drink?" And I was like, I forgot what I was planning." I guess chug your drink. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was very funny. But no, it was a blast.
So to mention, I should say my partner is my boyfriend.
Yay!
Got a boyfriend.
Yay!
He's a sweetheart. Very into him. He met my parents by driving out with them in the car to the cabin.
Did you get the debrief on how that went?
It went great.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Even joined a phone call with my grandma, so that was fun.
That is so fun.
Just thrown right into it. So.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
But no, it ended up being really good.
That's
and it
good.
Was fun for us to win too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That was sick. It was really fun because he was really shy when he first got there, but then as the games progressed, you kind of got to see a little bit more of him come out as he got comfortable. It was so funny.
The final game was Murder Ball, which is just chaos.
Mm-hmm. And then especially when you mess up the rules.
Yeah.
Not saying that happened, but
we won by Dirty's messed up rules.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I still think we would have won with the regular rules.
Yeah.
Because we're both great at chugging.
Yeah. So.
But.
Yeah. Besides the point.
We're also great at sabotaging.
Literally.
But, Yeah, he kind of started building the strategy of like if you just lightly tap someone's can and then throw the ball so the partner has to run.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
it was so funny because he would like throw the ping pong ball at the can, bounce it off, catch it, and then turn around and just whip it as far as he could in the opposite direction the person was already running.
Yeah.
Which was so funny.
Yeah. So it was good.
Yeah, it was a blast. And I'm the tannest I have ever been after that weekend because I didn't put any sunscreen on Sunday and I was pink when I got home.
Yeah. 2 weekends of sun.
I know. I'm like, look at how tan I am. It's delightful.
Yeah. We love it. Ready? Your update? I guess having
my update.
The working Canada Day stuff.
Oh, so we went off to Mac's cabin on Canada Day, and then I drove back on the Sunday night, and then on Monday I drove up to do a bachelorette party.
Oh.
For one of my best friends that I've known since first grade, which was so much fun.
Oh, fun.
It was sweet. We just like met for lunch, and then they went to the salon to get like manicures, but I already had my nails done.
From the wedding?
Yeah, from the wedding. So then I didn't get anything. So I just kind of stood there and talked to them, which is kind of fun. And then it didn't take very long. And so the girl, her sister who planned it, she's like, I expected this to take longer. So now we just have 2 hours to kill before we get to go and do the escape room. So we just went back to her house and played games.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to an escape room, and it was like a zombie testing facility thing.
Oh.
It was terrifying. He's like, this is a horror one. Like, what level of horror do you guys want? And I was like, 0%, please. And then one of the other girls was like, I'm just gonna let you know that when I get scared, I throw punches. So, like, be afraid. Like, do it that way you will. And he's like, so no human actors. Got it. And I was like, there's human actors? What? Like, no.
I kind of want to go in one of those, but yeah, I think I probably start swinging too.
Yeah, I was like, absolutely not. And it was super fun. We got out of there. We had 3 minutes to spare.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is cool. There were 6 of us, and it was very difficult, but we did it.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it was super fun. And then we just kind of like, then we went out for supper. And Bryce, he was so funny because he called me on Sunday night, and I was like, are you at home? And he's like, no, we're just leaving the river because he went on a river float. And I was like, oh, okay, are you coming home tonight or tomorrow? And he's like, probably tomorrow. And I was like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow night then. He's like, well, I'm coming home in the morning. And I was like, I have a bachelorette party to go to. And he's like, oh, right. Whose wedding is this? I was like, right. So I told him, he's like, oh yeah, and I'm going to that, right? And I was like, yeah, you're going to that. And he's like, okay, well then I want to buy her dinner. And I was like, thank you, I guess. It was the whole like, yeah, and I'm going to that one, right? And I was like, yeah, 100% you are. Okay, thank you so much. But yeah, so we went out for dinner, and then Bryce. But you can see
why he makes that comment though, because after Brooks.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah,
I guess it's fair.
Yeah,
but I was also like, Bryce, the invitation is on our fridge.
Yeah,
I've been talking about this for a year.
Yeah,
or not quite a year, like 6 to 8 months. Yeah, and then we just like had dinner, and then we went back to her house, and we just did some like arts and crafts and played some games, and it was super fun. Mm-hmm.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it was delightful. And then I drove home at midnight. And I was like, oof. But I haven't seen her in a really long time, so it was nice to just catch up.
Oh, good.
And we like got some stuff figured out, and yeah, so her fiance is being entirely unhelpful with the whole wedding planning process, just because he's like, I don't really care. And she's like, hello, I need your help a little bit. But they're trying to buy a house too.
Wow.
I know. I was like, holy cow.
I feel like everyone I know is doing that all at once. Like all the big events at the same time.
Just in the same year.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so expensive. But it's nice because like she's renting from, I think like her uncle's girlfriend or new wife or something. So it's still like within the family. So they're getting a pretty good deal, which is so nice. And then they get a house.
Yeah.
Which is sick.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for her wedding. Because my dad's officiating.
Oh, and I remember you mentioning that, but
he's so excited.
Oh, I bet.
I cried when she asked me if she could ask him. I was like, yes, of course. Oh my gosh. That's so sweet.
He's going to love that.
Right? So she's like, I still need to message him and make sure that he's still okay with doing that. And I was like, yeah, no, he is.
Yeah. Fantastic.
But, yep, it should be good. So I guess that's my update.
Fantastic.
So fun.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll get into it with diets.
Oh yeah, did we even introduce our topic?
Yes.
Okay.
I always say it.
Every time. I never hear it.
I always say it, you never hear it.
Great. We're married.
Yeah, so the whole premise of diets that we're going about is we're just going to talk about the most common types of diets you hear about, and then list their pros and cons, right? And with this, take this as you will. This is not meant to be health advice for you, because everyone's personal and everyone's individualized, and some bodies metabolize different than others, and some work better with some diets and other diets. And that was a really mumbled way of saying
each to their own.
Yeah. Yeah. Pick what works for you.
Yeah.
Right. The overall arching theme of this is balance and whole foods, but we will get into the specifics of each here very shortly.
Exactly.
And so to start, I want to talk with the definition of diet. And so the definition of diet that I know and I follow is the kinds of food a person, community, and animal habitually eats. But the more common understanding of a diet is the sum of food consumed by a person or an organism. And this is where it has the chance to get the restrictive side of things, right?
Right.
You're dieting to lose weight is the most commonly used term for this definition. However, the word itself does mean
just
what you eat.
Yeah. Which is so funny because I hear the term diet as a food restriction, and then I also hear the term diet as what people are eating, and for some reason I never put it together that they were the same word.
Yeah.
Even though they totally are.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
A diet is literally just what you eat. Dieting is often used for weight loss and other reasons. So some diets are necessary for health reasons. For example, we'll talk about this later on, but keto was originally created as a form of treatment for epilepsy.
Ooh.
But oftentimes they're used in a crash dieting format to lose weight, whether the weight loss is necessary or not.
Right.
So
enjoy fun.
So the types of diets that we're going to talk about today include vegetarian, vegan, macrobiotic, raw foods, Paleolithic, Mediterranean, keto, intermittent fasting, Atkins, South Beach, Whole30, and Ayurvedic.
So fun. Okay, so for vegetarian, it can include lacto and ovo as well. So I'm assuming that's including dairy products and stuff, right?
Yeah, so lacto indicates that they consume milk, ovo indicates that they consume eggs. You can either be none of those things, or you can do just milk or just eggs or just veggies.
Right. So it's a veggie-based diet. There's no meat products. Oh yeah, like Mac said, lacto includes or indicates that they consume milk. Ovo indicates they consume eggs. So if I just read the whole sentence, I would know what that meant. Some pros to being vegetarian. There's incidences of hypertension.
Decrease.
Okay. So there's a decrease in hypertension, obesity, high cholesterol, atherosclerosis, heart disease, osteoporosis, and cancer. And because of the vitamins, minerals, fiber, and low fats with the veggies. So atherosclerosis, holy smokers. That's just when your arteries become clogged, and osteoporosis is just
porous bones.
Yeah. So some cons to being vegetarian include reduced iron and vitamin B12 intake, which increases your risk for anemia. So you want to practice combining complete proteins as well with that, right?
Yep. And so, for example, of combining complete proteins, this includes grains and legumes. So, for example, rice and lentils, wheat and peas, or bean burrito. Seeds and nuts and legumes. Example, garbanzo and sesame, hummus, tofu and sesame. Even though tofu and tempeh are also complete proteins on their own.
Okay.
Grains and milk and egg, because the milk and the eggs provide complete proteins, or veggies and milk and egg. Again, milk and eggs provide the complete protein.
Right.
So grains are low in lysine and isoleucine. Legumes are low in tryptophan and methionine. Seeds and nuts are low in lysine and isoleucine. And veggies vary, but most are low in methionine and isoleucine. So this is why you need to have the other to complete them.
Right. That makes sense.
And then so veganism is a strict form of vegetarianism where no animal products are consumed. This can extend to honey and having or wearing leather products. So it's just fruits, veggies, legumes, grains, nuts, and seeds. So vegan pros, you tend to be lower in weight when you follow a vegan diet. You have lower cholesterol, low risk of heart disease, cancers, notably breast, uterus, colon, and prostate cancers, because of for the breast and the uterus is because of the reduce of body fat, and for the colon and prostate, it's for the prostate, the fiber, colon again is just the reduce of estrogen from body fat. Or sorry, not colon, prostate. Did I say that right?
You said
prostate is because there's
lower estrogen.
Healthy hormones, and colon is because of the fiber.
Right.
It has a very similar pros to vegetarian, as you are obtaining a variety of vitamins, minerals, and nutrients from the vegetables. Vegan cons, it's not recommended for children unless parents or guardians can oversee proper nutritional intake, because it is more difficult to obtain complete proteins and whole nutrients on a vegan diet.
Right.
So it's also not recommended during pregnancy. It can be done, but nutritional knowledge needs to be there. Again, primarily with like protein intake and the folic acid specifically that is so necessary for pregnancy.
Right.
And then you do need to practice proper food combining in order to obtain the complete proteins as listed above. And there is also a risk of deficiency in vitamin A, D, and zinc and B12 on a vegan diet.
So fun.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents have a bunch of food allergies, and so they'd go into restaurants and they're like, we're vegan, but we can eat meat. And all the waitresses and waiters were like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't have like any dairy products or like animal byproducts other than like the actual meat. So they would on a vegan diet, but with meat, which is so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next is macrobiotic, which is more of a philosophy of life centered around a diet. And so it was brought to America from Japan by George Osawa.
Mm-hmm.
And so this diet is almost exclusively cooked because raw is seen to be difficult to digest and too cooling to the system. So if you think back to like the yin yang.
Mm-hmm.
And so less than 5% of this diet is actually fruit. Dairy and eggs are avoided. And the only animal products are white fish, which is also only about 5% of the diet. 50 to 60% of this diet is whole grains. Flour products and baked goods are avoided. Occasionally, you're allowed to eat like pasta and bread. Vegetables are 20 to 25% of the meal, except for nightshade veggies. So like potatoes, peppers, tomatoes, eggplant, avocado, spinach, yams, and sweet potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Beans and sea vegetables are suggested to complement the meal at 5 to 10%. Mm-hmm. Herbs and spices, for example, like garlic, onions, and cayenne, are considered too stimulating. So yeah, again, very yin-yang focused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so then pros to the macrobiotic diet is that it's comprised of whole foods. There's a very nice overall balance. There's plenty of vitamins, minerals, complex carbs, and fiber. There's low fat and adequate protein. And a lot of the dietary rules align with the prevention of cancer and other chronic diseases. So that's very cool. I've never actually heard of this diet, which is kind of fun. And so then some cons are there's limited research on macrobiotic eating, potential risk of vitamin D and B12 deficiencies, particularly during infancy, childhood, and adolescence. So during your main developmental phases. Mm-hmm. And some just don't like the philosophy because it contrasts with other belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
And so this would be the same, like counting your macros, counting your micros kind of thing. Would this be the macros?
No, I don't know why they called it the macrobiotic.
Okay.
I need to I'm going to look that up.
Because after I said, I was like, oh, like I've never heard of this. And I was like, wait, people count their macros. So then would this not be considered the same? But I don't know what the rest of the word is.
Yeah, I mean, apparently it just comes from when you break down the words, the Greek word macro and bio. So it means large or long in life.
Oh, so it's just the long life diet.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But you're right. Macronutrients is part of that, but no, this is not breaking down the macronutrients. It's just
I didn't know what the last part of macro was. I was like, macrobiotic sounds wrong because it's not microbiotic, but nutrients make sense.
Yeah, no, it's just called that because it's supposed to mean long life.
Interesting.
But yeah, and that was originally drawn from Zen Buddhism.
Interesting. Do you have any personal feelings about this diet? Because it sounds really good on paper.
Yeah, it was interesting to learn about. It seems very restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, like you can only cook certain things and you can't eat certain things, and so I don't really know if it's something I would want to follow.
Yeah.
But I understand the concepts. Also, I don't know how I feel about not eating raw foods.
Yeah, right?
And not using spices like garlic, onion, cayenne.
It's very plain.
Because the garlic and onion have so many antiviral and antimicrobial benefits, and cayenne is good for the circulation of your blood. And
those are also my top 3 spices that I use.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But also on that same note, it comes from Japan, which has a high lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
yeah.
They're obviously doing something right.
I guess so. That's really interesting. I'm going to do more research on that one because I find it very intriguing.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to add that one in here because it is just so different and unique.
Mm-hmm.
And just like not something we follow.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, it makes sense, I guess. It would be difficult for me because the only animal products are white fish.
Yeah.
So I would struggle with that.
Yeah.
Because I just love cheese. And eggs. And milk and cream. The usual.
But then it was developed in the 1920s, so it's been around for a long
holy cow
while, or that's when it was first brought to its concepts was first brought to America.
Right.
Yeah, interesting to go.
Yeah, very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so the next one is a raw foods diet, which consists of uncooked whole foods. The idea of this being that when foods are in their raw state, they're at their most nutritious, because processing and cooking depletes foods of their nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
So for pros and cons, raw food pros is that it can provide vitality and nutrient content. Those on this diet often lose weight. It's good during warmer temperatures because it's cooling, but it's also not recommended for colder temps for that same reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if you live in a tropical place, or if you want to go raw foods in the summertime, it could be beneficial because it ups your water content and your nutrient content and all the things that you need during the warmth.
Well, even like in terms of seasonal eating, like a lot of, you're not going to get fresh raw fruits and veggies in the winter, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to tend to cook.
Unless you live in a tropical climate year round. That's the only.
That is true. Yeah.
Right. So, but for someone living in Canada, stews and warm foods are almost necessary in the winter just to keep yourself warm.
Yeah, literally.
Right. And then so for raw food cons, unless it's balanced, it's not good for long periods of time because it's low in protein. It's also low in calcium and iron, which could lead to problems in the long run. And some experience problems with digestion just because of the amount of fiber that will be going through your system on a raw food.
Yeah.
The cooking, with cooking, it has a chance to break it down. So if you're just not used to it, fiber is good for you, but your stomach might be a little upset with you to begin with.
So even could sushi then be considered like a raw food diet?
No, because it's cooked rice.
Oh, I guess so. So how do you get like protein from this unless you're just eating like raw beans and nuts, I guess? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not just gonna like have a slab of raw chicken.
No.
Or beef.
But you can't, yeah.
The beef tartare.
Exactly. So you have to get a lot of your protein from your fruits and veg.
Right.
But they can't be cooked.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I also find it very interesting that like macrobiotic is like no raw veggies or food at all. And then this one's like only raw food.
Yeah.
So it's like even the people making the diets cannot like agree on what's the best you should be eating.
Which is why I like take this with a grain of salt, right? If it works for you, it works for you, but it doesn't work for everyone. There's even the whole back and forth between some people who swear by vegetarianism and some who swear by the carnivore diet.
Yeah. I know. Bryce keeps telling me, he's like, Journey, I'm just going to be on the carnivore diet. I was like, please. No, he's like, I only want steak and eggs for breakfast. And I was like, well, I guess you best be getting up to make that because I don't know who's going to do that for you.
Yeah. Which I get the principles behind both, right? Like, as I'm a vegetarian and they're like, well, how are you getting protein? Like, you can get protein from plant proteins if you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And the carnivore, I'm like, you need micronutrients.
Literally.
You can't just live off of protein. Like, your poor kidneys are going to be so hurt.
And you're just never going to poop.
Exactly.
Like, he just doesn't seem to understand that either.
Yeah. So this is why I swear by balance, but we'll continue with the types of diets.
Okay. So the next is Paleolithic or hunter-gatherer. And so this diet is supposed to mimic what our ancestors ate during like the caveman times. And so it consists of a high protein content, which that equals out to like 19 to 35% of your total calories is protein. And so the protein is supposed to also be made of wild game. So fat content is lower. Nuts and seeds are in their raw form. Nuts and seeds in their raw forms are consumed for healthy fats. There are no refined grains or sugars in the Paleolithic days, so you avoid those. Berries and vegetables were consumed in high proportion, offering high amounts of fiber as well. And so pros to the Paleolithic diet is that it's high protein, it's full of healthy fats and fiber, and there's no processed or refined foods. Cons is that it's very restrictive. Foods like beans and whole grains are not allowed, even though they are now healthy for us. Because human foods have evolved since paleo times, it's hard to fully adopt this diet or even say that this diet is optimal. Just because we have so many more options now and we haven't eaten this way for so long that, yeah.
Even if you look at the size comparison of like a potato during caveman times to now, it's like they're all so much smaller and more dense, where everything is just like more water filled and large now, which reduces fiber, adds starch, adds blah 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 blah.
Well, and how many things are genetically modified nowadays anyways?
Exactly. So the whole concept of paleo for that reason is to try to find like food in its most raw form, and that's where like purchasing organic and various things that you're not adding GMOs, or you're not trying to actively add GMOs. Sometimes it's just contamination as a whole. Like there's nothing that can be fully GMO free now.
Right. I find it very interesting that your protein content is supposed to come from like wild game. So with that, do they mean just like wild deer and elk and bear and moose?
Yeah. Or
can you like grow your own chickens and then like it's not wild, but you know what I mean? Like
you're not supposed to have anything farmed. So things like beef and chicken and pork and stuff that are so wildly farmed now is avoided unless you can guarantee that it's like a free range or grass fed or.
But even if you had the opportunity to have like your own farm and you like raised your own beef and pigs and chickens, would that then be considered? Or
I think it would work as long as it has the wild aspect where it's like you're not feeding it all this stuff. It's consuming on its own.
Right. It's just foraging. Okay. Interesting.
But that's where some people this is where the restrictive part of the paleo diet comes from. Is that it's really hard to guarantee that. And so a lot of people now would just go and get a chicken that is like free range, organic, and do its best for all the labels. But even with those labels, it's hard to guarantee.
Yeah.
Right?
They're just words. They don't mean anything.
Yeah. So whereas going out and hunting for wild game, like meats that you don't normally see in the grocery store.
Yeah.
If you want to follow a true paleo diet, that would be the way to do it.
Okay. Interesting. Fun stuff.
Yeah. The next one here I have is Mediterranean, which refers to foods consumed in Greece, Italy, Portugal, southern France, and Spain, and occasionally it refers to North African countries like Morocco. This diet has an emphasis on whole grains and legumes. Olives and olive oil are key. There's a moderate consumption of red wines, and then the meats that are consumed is primarily fish or white meats from land animals such as chicken.
Right.
Red meats are limited in this area. And then fresh fruits and veg are plentiful throughout these regions, so they are consumed a lot.
Do you think you follow this?
I do.
Okay.
I tend to follow a more Mediterranean diet just based off of what works best for me. So it's funny that you noticed that.
Yeah, I was like, this sounds a lot like just what you eat.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So olive consumption, so for pros, I should say, the olive consumption in these areas is cancer preventative, blood sugar stabilizing, atherosclerosis. Sclerosis.
Yep.
There it is.
Yep.
Preventing. And the white fish and meat and red wine consumption all contribute to lower rates of heart disease. Also, the lifestyle in this area contributes to health, with daily shopping at fresh fruit and fruit and veg markets are very common.
That's really cool.
So oftentimes one of my roommates in university, her dad was from the south of France area. And so every day he never had like a storage of groceries in his refrigerator. He went and shopped every day
for what
he was making for dinner that night.
That's cool.
And that's just a habit that he had from growing up in the southern France region.
I feel like that's just a lot less wasteful too. Like if you're only buying what you need, then you're not, their veggies aren't going to go bad and you're going to throw them out.
Yeah. And the idea of going to these markets daily, it's like going to a farmer's market every single day. You have like the fresh picked veg and
that's
the whole concept of being like close to home, and very much what I would like to get myself to be.
Yeah, me too. That sounds awesome.
Which is why I want to have my own greenhouse at some point. But
I just want to go to the farmer's market.
But if you can be in a region where you have that every day, it's that's really good. And just pick what's cool. And that helps with seasonal eating as well. And then but the cons of a Mediterranean diet is that in the Mediterranean there is an excessive use of coffee and cigarettes in this area, and it's also very common to eat dinner very late, which isn't ideal for the whole fasting and repair work that is necessary with sleep. Yeah, most families have dinner around like 9 p.m.
Oh my goodness, I'm really living a Mediterranean diet. Oh my gosh.
You see the cigarettes.
No, thank you. I don't want those. Yeah. I have trouble breathing enough as it is.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you say it's like my diet, but you are also very much adopting my diet.
I am really trying to. Oh my goodness. So Bryce is going to come home. I'm going to have our house decorated like Mediterraneanly. We're like, we're Mediterranean now.
Mediterraneanly.
I think that's cultural appropriation, so maybe I won't do that. But anyway.
I just really want to be Italian.
I would love to. I think this will be really fun when you get that job in southern France. And then you can go and you can live your little farmer's market dream.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. And then I can come visit you and live my little farmer's market dream.
Oh my gosh, I know.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next diet is keto, and this one is just a hot topic.
Yeah.
So, it is part of like the low carb category of diets. And like Max said, it was originally made as a treatment for epilepsy because ketones and beta hydroxybutyrate. Yeah, we'll go with that. Which are both created by this diet, were found to help reduce seizures. And so keto is a low carb, high fat diet that is intended to put the body into ketosis, which means that the body uses fat cells for energy rather than carbs, which sounds really good. But ketosis is technically your body's reaction to starvation because the body prefers to use carbs as fuel because they are most easily accessible. And although this varies person to person, the keto diet usually entails 60 to 75% of calories from fats, 15 to 30% of calories from protein, and 5 to 10% of calories from carbs. And so pros for keto are fat loss. It encourages a reduction of refined sugars and carbs and focuses your diet on lean meats, non-starch veggies, and healthy fats. And it can kind of just help clear some brain fog because you're cutting down on refined sugars. Some cons are that it is very restrictive and it often puts the body into starvation mode. It often has an increase in LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. It can bring on headaches, muscle aches, nausea, and diarrhea, aka the keto flu. There's mood fluctuations, constipation, keto breath. What is keto breath?
It smells like acetone because acetone is a byproduct of.
Oh my gosh!
So it smells like nail polish. You can just go
clean off your nails. Yeah, that's sick. There's also a risk of developing gout, which is a type of inflammatory arthritis caused by a buildup of uric acid. And so it's just so weird because this is just my personal opinion about keto. But when I would see like videos on Facebook and they're like, this is the new keto diet, and they're making like a tortilla shell like out of just cheese. I'm like, how is that better than just a regular tortilla shell? But it's just cutting out the refined sugars and stuff.
Well, that's again, keto as on paper is supposed to be good, right? Because you just like have lean meats and vegetables, and chill on the sugars, But people do keto now in the way that they're still trying to keep their standard American diet and still do keto. That means like bacon slathered in mayonnaise and calling it health.
That's disgusting.
And I'm like,
that's so bad for your heart.
And that's where that's the LDL cholesterol, because all of these foods are LDL cholesterol. And that's another thing too, is that keto is supposed to be about the healthy fat. So having lots of avocado and coconut and olive oil and all these fats that your body needs, and less focus on meat. As said by the 60 75 and then 15 to 30. But a lot of people do it wrong. They go meat focused, and then this is where the whole gout and inflammation and everything else comes from. It's because the meat can be so inflammatory if your kidneys aren't processing it properly. So you do need to up your water intake if you are meat focused on a keto diet.
Mm-hmm. And so then with keto, was it you or Alexa who told me that like it's fine, or it's like it's okay if you're doing it right, but you have to do it right forever. It's not something you can just bounce on and bounce off.
Well, because so you have to wait a certain amount of days for your body to get into ketosis, and then coming out of it, if you just jump back into your normal carb habits, your body's gonna starvation mode's gonna absorb it and pack on the fat and store it as fat, because they're like, oh, we were just starved for X number of days,
right?
So now we're not gonna let this go, and it's gonna take double the amount of time,
right,
to get off of it as well.
Okay.
So if anything, if you are on a keto diet and then you want to wean off of it, slowly introduce carbs back into your diet.
Okay.
So that your body's not like in full ketosis to back to full diet prior to starting keto.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So spicy fun.
Yeah. It really is great. Keto is one of the fads. It bugs me. It's a fad that I think has so much potential just based off of the core principles of it, right? Eat healthy fats, eat lean meats, eat non-starch vegetables.
Yeah.
Cut the refined sugars, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But so many people do it so wrong. And it drives me up the wall.
Yeah.
Up the wall.
Yeah. No, as it should.
I'm like, again, mayonnaise on bacon with avocado for breakfast is not health.
Well, and like, how do you look at that and think that it is health?
Because you're losing fat. And if that's the key goal, but I'm like, but you're missing out on all these other micronutrients and stuff that are involved with it. And so,
I guess so, but I don't know.
So if you want to do it for losing fat, your prerogative, right? Because holding on to excess fat is also not good in the long term. But if this crash dieting technique is going to cause you to get upset when you put the weight back on again, because also keep in mind, some of the initial weight that you lose with keto is water weight, because your body is deprived of carbohydrates.
Right.
When your carbohydrates store in with your muscles, they store with the water molecule. So if you deplete these carbohydrates, you also lose this water. So that is the initial weight loss that you see before fat.
Yeah.
So you have to know that when you get off of keto and you have your carbs back up, it's going to be stored with water in your muscle again. So that's going to put back on weight.
Yeah.
Some people see that, freak out, go into keto again, lose the water weight again, lose some more fat, put the weight back on. It's just water weight. It's that's what your muscles need to fire off.
Yeah.
And then
they just
so
freak
on
out
and so
about
forth.
it.
And so that's where the yo-yo dieting of everything comes from, which yo-yo dieting, it can affect your metabolic rate. In the short term, there's no long-term damage to your metabolic rate.
Oh, okay.
But the constant up and down of yo-yo dieting is going to make your metabolism a little confused.
Right.
And it's also going to wreak havoc on your organ systems.
Ooh, yikes.
So,
yeah.
Just to keep in mind before you go this like on again, off again.
Well, and even if you like start on keto and then as you're weaning off, like you don't ever like, if you go exactly back to the way you were eating, you're going to put on that same weight, right? Like that's because what happened.
That same diet you were eating before. There. Exactly.
So it's like you can't just think that, oh, I'm going to go on keto, I'm going to lose all this weight, and then it's just going to stay off. It's something that you have to like always work at. And that doesn't mean you need to cut out everything that you enjoyed from previous before then. Like you can still enjoy the odd cheeseburger and the odd piece of cake or whatever, just in moderation again, right? Like you can still have those carbs, just not to the extent that you were before.
Exactly.
Not that I'm telling you how to live or anything. That's just what I know.
But based off nutrition principles, this is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
All right. And so the next diet is intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is where you abstain from food and sometimes drink as well for controlled periods of time. So the primary reason for following this process is so that you allow your body to have time to do repair work instead of working on digesting all the time. Because when the body is digesting, it doesn't have time to work on repair, which is why our natural time of repair and fasting is during sleep.
Right.
This is one of the reasons why sleep is so important. We'll get more into that at the end of the month.
I have lots of feelings.
So there are no set food guidelines with intermittent fasting. It's more of a lifestyle. And there are multiple types of intermittent fasting. So 16-8 fasting, aka the lean gains method, which confines eating to an 8-hour period with a 16-hour fast. And there are a few other breakups of this as well. I guess it would be like 9 and 15 or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Some just give you more periods of eating time. Some give you less, depending on. But this is for the 24-hour cycle.
Okay.
And then there's a 5 and 2 method where you eat normally for 5 days and then decrease your caloric intake to 500 calories for women or 600 calories for men for 2 days.
That's scary.
And so that's supposed to be like a fasting phase, but with not a full fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's alternate day fasting where you eat normally one day and then fast the next.
Okay.
And then there's eat, stop, eat, which is similar to 5-2, where you eat what you want for 5 days, except for on the 2 days you fast fully. That means no food, no water, nothing consumed for those days.
Oh my gosh.
And with that one, the 2 fast days are non-consecutive.
So they're not in a row?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is this different than just yo-yo dieting? Because it doesn't feel good to just eat normally for 5 days and then just like not.
Yeah.
Like, I think my brain doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The idea, yeah. Fasting as a whole is an interesting concept just because it is so shocking for so many, right? And I'm going to get into this with the pros and cons. So, but because our body does need to do more repair work than we allow it, because most of us eat late at night and then don't get good sleep and then XYZ. So this is supposed to just like force the body into repair work. I personally enjoy doing like a 3-day fast in the springtime to help clear out winter.
Right.
I do it on a way of like where I consume broths and fruit juices and herbal teas as well. I don't go like absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
But then we also look at there's a lot of religious things behind fasting, right? Where you see Ramadan in the springtime as well, where they just don't eat anything until it's dark.
Right. Yeah.
And so this would follow a similar concept of that. But yeah, it's not like yo-yo dieting because it's not like eating completely normal and then not at all. This is like this is just like your week. This is your 7-day week.
Oh, okay.
So that's where is hypothetically different, but I can see what you mean.
Yeah.
And where it feels very crash diety in some ways.
Yeah, it really. So you just kind of have to do this like forever.
You make this a lifestyle.
Okay.
So this is where the 16-8 is the most popular method of intermittent fasting that you will see, where people will just eat between the hours of like noon to 8 p.m.
Right.
Right? Like they skip breakfast and they start their eating day at lunch and do lunch.
Okay.
Lunch,
so I guess I
dinners.
kind of do that then. In a sense.
Yeah. But you have to make sure you're getting all the calories you need for that day in that period.
And that's been my struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're not good with food, I wouldn't recommend it. Or if you have poor digestion, I also wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because for me, I find with my poor digestion, I need to eat smaller meals throughout the day. So that my body can actually digest things properly and it helps with my blood sugar and it XYZ. Whereas if I was to just consume a whole bunch of food between a certain hours, I don't think I would digest anything fully and it wouldn't be good for me.
It would not be good. Yeah.
So
I agree. Because I feel like that would be the same as me. I would just get so bloated and not do anything.
Yeah.
And then I would just end up craving foods that weren't good for me.
Exactly.
Joy fun.
So intermittent fasting pros. It has been linked with a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, and diabetes.
Pause. You can also just get that from good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. More at the end of the month on that.
Yeah. Some say it boosts cognitive functioning. Fat and weight loss have been noted. And there is some new research now on if intermittent fasting can help regulate your mood.
Interesting.
Which is interesting because you would think with the blood sugar up and downs, but I guess the idea is that if you're not getting constant spikes of sugar in your blood.
If you don't have those spikes, you're not going to get that crash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So interesting. That's not fully set in stone yet.
And so then it's reduced risk of developing diabetes, but it probably wouldn't be ideal for a person with diabetes to intermittently fast.
Yeah. I talk to dietitian, nutritionist, your doctor, whoever you want to talk to, but because of the whole abstaining from food for certain hours, I wouldn't recommend it because
Okay.
you do need to stabilize your blood sugar on your own.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Cons of intermittent fasting include headaches, lightheadedness, insomnia, fatigue, dehydration, constipation, all primarily from adjusting to the fasting periods.
Right. So then once you're used to kind of living in like your body gets used to like, okay, on Tuesdays and Thursdays I don't eat. Will these cons then go away? Or will that just kind of be on Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm gonna have a lighthead?
From personal experience, lighthead. My head is not gonna feel so heavy that day. From personal experience, I find it just kind of goes away. Your body adjusts to it. I haven't done intermittent fasting long term, so I can't speak on that. I think it's going to vary person to person if you're going to continuously have headaches or not. That's really, it depends on your body and how it reacts.
Right.
When I have done fasts, day one is always like headachy because you're getting caffeine withdrawals and sugar withdrawals and you're just adjusting to not having anything in your system.
Yeah.
But by day 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm chilling.
Okay.
I don't notice a different dip in my energy. I'm also not going to do a marathon if you're fasting.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you also kind of have to adjust your lifestyle.
Yeah, you just kind of live slow and chill. And this is why I like to do it in the spring because it's, if you follow the seasonal diet as
waking up.
Yeah. I love seasons, spring cleaning. You're taking slow, you're adjusting, you're transitioning. So it's just it's like environmental
a
time to cleanse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one we have is Atkins, and it's also part of the low carb category. And so it focuses on high protein and high fat diets that use meat, dairy, and fats in place of carbs. And so it was popular in the early 90s and was one of the first low carb diets to hit the market starting in the 1970s. And it promotes nutritious foods over calorie intake, just minus the consumption of carbs. And it also offers a varying level of carb intake, so you're not just like completely cutting them out. So some pros are that it helps with weight management. There's no calorie counting. It promotes whole foods with hearty eating plans. Carbs that are consumed are fiber rich, so you're not missing out there. And some cons are that it's hard to maintain because it's still so very restrictive. It requires you to cut fruit and grains, which have their own benefits in moderation. And so it has similar potential side effects as keto because you are cutting out so much.
It does switch into the whole using fat for energy at certain points, so that's why they have the same thing, like the same headaches and keto breath and all that
fun stuff,
all the fun bits there. So next we have the South Beach diet. This one also I guess could count as low carb category, even though it's slightly different. So this is a diet that has phases of carb cutting and then reintroduction. So in phase 1, you'll cut out virtually all carbs to get rid of bloat, and you'll reboot your body, so to speak. And then throughout phase 2, you'll slowly start adding carbohydrates back into your body. Why can't I speak right now? My brain is short-circuiting.
I feel that.
And then so by the final phase, you're expected to have met your goal weight and have learned a new healthy eating habits. So it's like, cut it out just to get your body back into normal, and then we'll reintroduce, and then you should be able to maintain that weight, hypothetically, if you continue living in this lifestyle.
Oh, okay.
So on paper, it seems really good. So the pros, it's simple and convenient. It may prevent food cravings. It does allow carbs. It encourages exercise, emphasizes healthy eating patterns, low in saturated fats. Cons is that it also has a very restrictive first phase. It relies on the glycemic index, which is also not a very reliable source of blood sugar balance and stuff.
Right.
It's an okay guideline, but yeah, for you to like fully lean into that, not ideal.
Right.
And then it may contribute to disordered eating if you're not careful.
Yes. So this is kind of where like the whole like carbs are bad for you, don't eat carbs ever kind of came from. Okay. That makes sense.
Yep.
All right, so the next one is the Whole30, which is a paleo-inspired diet plan where you restrict sugar, dairy, legumes, grains, gluten, and alcohol from your diet for 30 days. So the focus of this is not necessarily about losing weight, but rather to act as more of like a detox from sugars and to focus on building whole food habits. And so Some pros are that it doesn't promote specific weight loss outcomes and doesn't require calorie counting. It just encourages consumption of simple whole foods, which sounds amazing. So some cons are that the complete elimination of dairy, grains, and legumes isn't great because they do all have benefits in moderation. And so it's kind of similar to like the paleo cons where like you can still eat these things just in moderation because foods have changed so much.
What you can eat on Whole30 includes vegetables, fruits, fish and seafood, egg, meat, and healthful oils. What you can't is dairy, beans, grains, added sugars, soy, alcohol, and most processed foods. Falling back to the paleo.
Right. That's interesting. I thought the 30 was like 30 foods you could eat, not you're doing this for 30 days. Fun. The more you know. I'd never really researched a diet before. I just kind of heard it and was like, that's fun. Next. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, imagine a diet of just 30 foods.
Well, I thought it was like, here's like 30 whole foods that you have to like incorporate into whatever.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, spicy fun.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Alrighty. And so the last diet we're going to talk about today is the Ayurvedic diet. And so the Ayurvedic diet is a type of eating plan that sets guidelines for when, how, and what you should eat based off your dosha or body type.
Ooh.
And so the 3 doshas that are there is pitta, vata, and kapha. And so pitta is fire and water. And so someone who is pitta is intelligent, hardworking, decisive. This dosha generally has a medium physical build, short temper, and may suffer from conditions such as indigestion, heart disease, or high blood pressure. Vata is air and space. So vata is creative, energetic, and lively. People with this dosha are usually thin with a light frame, and they may struggle with digestive issues, fatigue, or anxiety when out of balance. And kapha is earth and water, which is naturally calm, grounded, and loyal. Those with kapha dosha often have a sturdier frame, may have issues with weight gain, asthma, depression, or diabetes. I would definitely self-identify as kapha.
I would self-identify as vata.
Yeah.
100%.
Uh-huh.
Weird.
Yeah. And then so the pitta dosha focuses on cooling, energizing foods, and limits spices, nuts, and seeds because they are already so fiery on their own. The vata dosha favors warm, moist, and grounding foods while restricting dried fruits, bitter herbs, and raw veggies. And then the kapha dosha limits heavy foods like nuts, seeds, and oils in favor of fruits, veggies, and legumes, which is funny because I've always been drawn to a more vegetarian diet.
So what would you describe a warm, moist, and grounding food as?
Like a soup?
Okay.
You know?
Like maybe more of a
Like an
stew?
oatmeal?
Okay. You named 2 of my least favorite foods.
Maybe you need more of that in your life.
I don't know. The last time I had oatmeal, I just wanted to throw up and die. I was not feeling good that day.
Or maybe like, I don't know, boil your veggies or something like that. Like, I don't know how else to describe.
Wild.
What would you consider warm, moist, and grounding?
I don't know. That's why I asked.
I think earthy, so I think like a
Maybe
veggie
like,
stew or like a
See, I could do
oatmeal.
stew. I prefer stew.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like potatoes, like a boiled potato.
Yeah.
Or like
Curries.
Yes. Grounding, hey. Like that to me that means like from the ground. But then maybe dirty.
Dirty.
Not dirty as in like disgusting, dirty as in like covered in dirt.
Oh my god.
Like earthen, I guess. I don't know.
That's funny.
Wild. So things to think about.
We'll get into more do's and don'ts though. Like I have another list here.
Okay.
So refined foods are limited or non-existent and is a very whole food focused way of living.
Mm-hmm.
So the pros, whole food focused, it can promote weight loss and it promotes mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Cons, it can feel restrictive, often subjective because you have to decide based on your dosha, which is a subjective experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so foods to eat based on Ayurvedic principles. So for pitta, the proteins it suggests is poultry in small amounts, eggs, whites, and tofu, or egg whites, sorry, and tofu. Egg whites. Like eat whites.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. For dairy, they suggest milk, ghee, and butter. For fruits, they want sweet, fully ripe fruits like oranges, pears, pineapples, bananas, melons, and mangoes. For vegetables, they recommend sweet and bitter veggies, including cabbage, cauliflower, celery, cucumber, zucchini, leafy greens, sweet potatoes, carrots, squash, and Brussels sprouts.
Ooh, yum.
Legumes are chickpeas, lentils, mung beans, lima beans, black beans, and kidney beans. For grains, barley, oat, basmati rice, and wheat. For nuts and seeds, small amounts of pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, and coconut. And then small amounts of black pepper, cumin, cinnamon, cilantro, dill, and turmeric.
Oh, yum.
For spices.
I think I eat a pitta diet.
Okay.
Wild.
Interesting. For a vata girl. So foods to avoid for pitta include red meat, seafood, and egg yolks. Dairy includes sour cream, cheese, and buttermilk. Fruits are sour or unripe fruits, such as grapes, apricots, papaya, grapefruit, and sour cherries. Vegetables, chili peppers, beets, tomatoes, onions, and eggplant. Grains, brown rice, millet, corn, and rye. Nuts and seeds, almonds, cashews, peanuts, pine nuts, pistachios, walnuts, and sesame seeds. Just forget all seeds, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And for herbs and spices, any spices that are not included in the above list.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Cool.
So for vata, what is recommended to eat are small amounts of poultry, seafood, and tofu.
Ooh.
For dairy, it's milk, butter, yogurt, cheese, and ghee.
What's ghee?
It's like butter.
Oh, okay.
It's similar to butter. It's just.
Is it like a spread then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just processed differently. So for fruits, fully ripe, sweet, and heavy fruits such as bananas, blueberries, strawberries, grapefruit, mango, peaches, and plums.
I changed my mind. I'm a vata girl.
So vegetables, they suggest cooked vegetables, including beets, sweet potatoes, onions, radishes, turnips, carrots, and green beans.
Changed my mind back.
Legumes, chickpeas, lentils, and mung beans.
Okay.
Cooked oats, cooked rice.
Gross.
Nuts and seeds, any including almonds, walnuts, pistachios, chia seeds, flax seeds, and sunflower seeds. You need lots of seeds.
I love pistachios.
And so for herbs and spices, cardamom, ginger, cumin, basil, cloves, oregano, thyme, and black pepper.
Oh my goodness, a lot of those are my most used.
There you go.
That's wild.
It says for what to avoid: red meat.
Okay, working on it.
Dried, unripe, or light fruits such as raisins, cranberries, pomegranates, and pears.
I don't eat any of those as it is.
For vegetables, any raw vegetables they don't recommend.
Oh, shoot.
As well as cooked broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, mushrooms, potatoes, and tomatoes.
Ooh. Like cooked tomatoes, or I guess raw tomatoes you can't eat anyways.
Yeah.
Okay.
For legumes, they say to avoid black beans, kidney beans, and navy beans.
Those are the only ones I eat.
Buckwheat, barley, rye, wheat, corn, quinoa, and millet. Those just avoid grains for the most part.
Oh, but I like corn.
And for herbs and spices, they say to avoid bitter or astringent herbs like parsley, thyme, and coriander.
But I thought I was supposed to use thyme for my spices.
Nope, you have cardamom, ginger, cumin, basil, cloves, oregano. Oh, thyme. Wow. Typo.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So on odd days use thyme, on even days don't. I don't know.
Interesting. I need to look that up more then.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. What do you
Good
eat?
catch. And then so for Kappa, the foods to eat that it recommends eating is poultry in small amounts, seafood, and egg whites. For dairy, it recommends skim milk, goat milk, and soy milk. For fruits, apples, blueberries, pomegranates, cherries, and dried fruits like raisins, figs, and prunes. For vegetables, asparagus, leafy greens, onions, potatoes, mushrooms, radishes, okra. That's a hard one for me to say.
Oh, okra's a fruit.
Vegetable.
Oh. I didn't know that.
For legumes, any, including black beans, chickpeas, lentils, and navy beans. Good, because I love beans.
Mm-hmm.
So for grains, oats, rye, buckwheat, barley, corn, and millet. Nuts and seeds, small amounts of pumpkin seeds. I love pumpkin seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Sunflower seeds and flax seeds. Love them all. And then for herbs and spices, any, including cumin, black pepper, turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, basil, oregano, and thyme.
Yeah.
And to avoid, red meats, shrimp, and egg yolks.
That's good because you're allergic to shrimp.
Exactly. Love egg yolks though. For fruits, bananas, coconuts, mangoes, and fresh figs. Funny enough, because if I eat bananas, they don't digest properly for me, and so my body odor gets really bad when I eat bananas.
And yeah, raw veggies and corn don't digest well for me either, like at all. But I still eat them anyways because they're delicious.
Yeah, it says to avoid sweet potatoes, tomatoes, zucchini, and cucumbers. For legumes, it says to avoid soybeans, but I'm supposed to have soy milk, which is interesting.
Weird. It must just change composition a bit then.
The processing of each. Okay, soybeans, kidney beans, and miso. Bummer, I love miso soup. For grains, it says to avoid rice, wheat, and cooked cereals. And then nuts and seeds, cashews, pecans, pine nuts, Brazil nuts, sesame seeds, and walnuts are all to avoid.
Interesting.
So take that as you will. It's just an interesting concept to play around with, especially because Ayurvedic concepts in medicine have such an ancient history to them that
and we talked about them in our like seasonal cleanses episode too, about how you can kind of seasonal cleansing is like an Ayurvedic practice.
Yeah.
So wild. I know. I kind of want to see that list and just see what I can.
I pulled this list from a website, so we can just connect it into the description below if you want to know more about that.
Yeah, if you want to see what you can eat. And then we can also do, I think it would be a good idea to do like slides with like each of these on there with just like some pros and cons and just like a little whatever.
We'll have that. And then so to wrap this up, one thing I mentioned above was starvation mode. And starvation mode is your body's natural response to long-term extreme calorie restriction.
Yeah.
So this is what happens when you have the extreme yo-yo dieting aspect. And so how this plays into the diets and just fat loss as a whole, when your body feels like it's in starvation mode, the minute you get back to normal eating, it's going to store fat in fear of not obtaining enough calories again. So because the body doesn't want to let this go as a protective factor, it will then take double the amount of time to get the fat off again, which is why just doing it moderately is your best bet.
Yep.
Go slow to go fast. And so this is where we see the toxic yo-yo diet culture. This is why knowing your BMR is so important, so you can properly adjust your calorie intake versus expenditure for weight loss, fat loss, or muscle gain.
And so what's BMR again?
Your basal metabolic rate.
Right.
And there's also your RMR, which is your resting metabolic rate. They kind of go hand in hand very much. It's for both. It's whatever amount of calories you need for your body just do its normal functioning in the day.
Right.
So my BMR is at 1800, which means that I need 1800 calories every day just for my organs to function the way they need to.
Yeah.
Right. And there are various scales and stuff. Now, if you go to a gym, there's lots of gyms that offer a body scan, composition scan, which can be fairly reliable to figure out what your BMR is. This is not to be confused with your BMI.
Yeah.
BMI is garbage. We don't like BMI here.
We do not like BMI.
So that's your body mass index. And so that is like your height versus weight, but it does not take into consideration muscle weight. So you can be obese on BMI standards, but you can be pure muscle.
Yeah.
In which case you're not obese in the sense of fat obese.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
But your metabolic rate is what you want because that shows how many calories you're going to burn that day if you just sit on your bum all day. And then so adjusting that, like when we're talking about cutting down what you consume, you need to adjust if you do work out as well.
Yeah, because if you like the whole big thing in working out right now is like working out in a caloric deficit. But what they mean is not deficiting. That sounds funny. Taking the deficit off of your BMR. It's taking the deficit off of the total amount of calories you will be spending. So if your BMR is, I think mine's like 1450, and then I go out and work out and I spend 600 calories, the amount of calories that I spent that day is 2050. So
for you to be in a deficit,
I would be only eating 18 or 16, not taking the 10 to 20% off of 14. Because then that gets big issues.
Because then that's when your starvation mode comes into play. And so someone who gets super into working out and eventually hits a point where they're like, well, why am I not losing any more fat? You'll lose some to begin with.
Yeah.
But if you start plateauing, it's probably because you're not eating enough.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what happened with me. I started working out. I lost 20 pounds and I've been sitting at that 220 mark now because my body has plateaued. And so it's now playing that game of gain out of starvation mode to continue to lose fat.
And that's the same with me right now. Is I was working out so much, but I was putting on like more fat than I was like gaining muscle or doing anything because I wasn't eating properly. So I've kind of taken a minute and been like, okay, I'm not eating properly enough to fuel myself to work out even a little bit. So I kind of need to just fix that.
Yeah.
And it is really discouraging when that happens.
Definitely.
So for starvation mode, hormones also play into this. And for women, we get to battle with estrogen. And so estrogen loves fat because fat is protected for babies. That's why we have our little pouch over our uterus. And so as we gain more fat, the fat cells then produce more estrogen, which promotes fat. So it's just kind of this really mean little cycle that's super fun. And so when you are starting your fat loss journey, you could also take a look at like getting your hormones balanced out just so that that's not adding to it. Your thyroid also plays a role in metabolism. So if you have an underactive thyroid, it can also be contributing to fat retention. And your liver also plays a role in both of those because the liver is responsible for clearing excess estrogens out of the body, and the conversion of thyroid hormones happens in the liver. So if all three of those things are kind of out of whack, it's just going to be super fun. And so if you have a sluggish liver, it's also contributing, I kind of just said this, contributing to hormone imbalance. So when you're starting like hormone or fat, not hormone loss.
You don't want hormone loss.
You don't want that. That's bad. Fat loss and hormone balancing. You also should take a look at your liver. And when we went to live blood analysis, our lady was telling us that like the liver is the one filter in your body that you never clean. Like when you're in utero, you're like processing your mom's not issues, but like you're being a filter for her as well and for yourself. And then once you come out, it's already clogged with a bunch of shit. So like it's just something you never think to clean. So try and do like liver cleanses and stuff to kind of help hormones and fat loss and
just give your liver some love.
Yeah, love your liver.
And I should note with guys as well, guys who carry extra and excess.
Right,
extra body fat. This is why you see man boobs, is because the estrogen cells produced off of the excess body fat. And so, whereas like the man's body is supposed to be like muscly and built and blah, blah, blah. The more fat you store, the less testosterone, the more estrogen. And that also contributes to the same balance because for a male's liver, you do have to then clean out the excess estrogens as females do.
Exactly. So then when you get like a beer belly, is that just because like of like the carbs within beer, but also like, where did I think I was going with this? Oh, you're drinking. And so then your liver's overworking, but then it's not working. So then you're producing fat, which is coming from estrogen and then blah, 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 blah.
And with the beer, so what happens there is because you are consuming carbs, right? So your blood glucose levels are spiking. Your insulin's not able to combat that. So this blood glucose gets converted to fat cells.
Oh, okay.
Fat cells then create estrogen cells, which creates more fat cells, which bada bing, bada boom, you're in this cycle. And
wow. So fun.
So fun.
The most fun. Okay, so then now we're just kind of gonna summarize, like,
so I guess we'll start a basic formula for fat loss, muscle gain, and just general weight loss. If you want to lose body fat, a basic formula is that you should reduce your usual calorie intake by 10 to 20%, as we talked about just earlier here. So this 10 to 20% mark will avoid metabolic like a slowdown in your metabolic rate that is associated with the more severe calorie restrictions, starvation mode. And it will also prevent the loss of lean body mass. And so, again, to determine your optimal calorie intake, use your BMR as a reference. Again, not to be confused with BMI.
Yeah.
We forget BMI. We don't like BMI. We don't want to. She's not invited to the party anymore.
You can't sit with us.
No.
Okay.
And the key to weight gain, if that is your goal, is to up your calories by 20%. Consuming lots of protein, lifting weights if you want to build muscle. And then weightlifting also promotes fat loss, arguably better than cardio for some.
Right.
Arguably, because not all bodies are the same. Again, my Kappa will lift weight differently than your Vata.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just for general weight loss, you just need to expend more energy than you are consuming. With this, if you're not careful, your body might start eating into muscle mass for energy, which is why the above recommendations are what they are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Joy, fun.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do a segment this episode because we had like a really good catch up and a lot of information. So
Yeah.
to prevent this episode from being almost 2 hours long, we're just going to call it a day.
Yeah. And to think didn't think we had enough information here.
Exactly.
As I'm writing all this out, I'm like, this isn't enough. We're going to blow through it. But no.
No, and here we are. Well, thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it and learned some stuff. And again, I think we're like legally required to say this isn't health advice.
No.
Also, take everything with like a grain of salt and find out what works for your body, because my body isn't your body. So how could I know what works for you?
Yeah. This is just meant to be for information purposes only.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have any health conditions, concerns, problems, talk to your physician before starting any diets, because the rules fluctuate depending on what you have.
And even like hormone, like the amount, especially for women, the role that hormones play in just like your body as it is, like definitely I would suggest getting those checked out too, just to see what kind of levels you're at, because that could be causing a problem that you don't even know that you had. And so why should you like starve yourself and do this crazy diet when it's just your hormones are out of whack kind of thing, right? So
Exactly. So
there's always something else.
take it with a grain of salt. Use it, information, and adjust your lifestyle as required from there.
Exactly.
Cool. I am Mak Joy.
I'm Mak Jubes.
We are sometimes Ciabatta Slaps on all social media platforms. Sometimes CiabattaSlaps.com is our website. You can find all the links to our episodes, our book club reviews, our affiliate links, which we have multiple now, which are kind of fun.
Yay.
And I'll say, if you like what we're doing, or if you just like us, give us a like. It helps us out. We appreciate it. We've offered cookies and slapping with ciabatta, like whatever you want to do.
We're just whatever you feel like. No, that's not it.
No,
all right.
We're just joking.
Well, we'll talk to you later. Or catch up for now.
See you next Tuesday.
Okay, bye.